So let's get started for today. So I'll just give a brief introduction about myself. My name is Amir. I have 8+ years of experience in cloud and technology, especially in Azure. I'm currently working in Singapore. I'm a certified Microsoft trainer, as well as I'm certified in the different domains. So based on your requirement, I'll just give you a career path, what is required in the certification part. So AZ-900 is completely for an let's say a freshers who are joining the cloud, or who have no knowledge on cloud environment. So this gives you a brief idea on how is cloud, what is cloud, why should we. It's a completely theory based paper, and there is no prerequisite to give this paper. Okay, what we are learning now is AZ-104, okay, which is a Microsoft Certified Azure Administrative Associate paper, which is a 2-star batch paper. Okay, and again, there is no prerequisite to go for this examination, but in case you in future, if you want to go for Azure DevOps, that is AZ-400, you can give this paper, but to earn this expert batch, you either need to clear AZ-104 or 204, that is your developer, that is a developer solution paper. Okay, so AZ-204 is mostly in your developer people who will be using it, and AZ-104 is most of the deployment part and the administrative part of it. Okay, if you want to go for the masters in architect, then you have 303 and 304. You have to complete both the examination in case you want to become a solution architect expert level. Okay, so these are the career part in the certification level. Again, there is AZ-500 also, which comes under Azure securities. Okay, so there are total of 11 modules what we need to cover to complete the AZ-104, which is related to your certification as well. Module 1 is total of identity, where we learn about Active Directory, where we learn about users, groups, and governments and compliance. That is your module 2. So module 1 and module 2 will be in line with each other, where in module 2 we learn about what is subscriptions, what are accounts, how the policies are working, what is the access managements, and other things of it. Module 3 is more of an administrative work, like where we say that how are we going to do the deployment. So we can use Azure portal to do the deployment. We can use CLI, we can use command shell, we can use ARM templates. So more of that part, like how which is your choosable language, and how you want to proceed with your deployments. So main topic starts with in module 4, which is your virtual networking topic, where we learn about what is virtual networking, what is IP addressing. I mean, how can you assign a virtual network, how can you give a static IP, public IP to your machines and other stuff. Then how in terms of a security, how do you manage your security, how to open the ports, how to block the ports, what is Azure firewalls and all, we study in our virtual networking sessions. Okay, module 5 is more of a connectivity type. Let's say you want to connect your network between one data center to another data center within Azure. How do you use VNet peering for that? We study that. Then if you want to connect your on-premise network to an Azure network, how do you do that using a VPN gateway? We will do that. And how a single laptop, a single point of contact, just one laptop, your own personal laptop, if you want to connect to Azure network, how do you do that in your point-to-site connectivity? Okay. Module 6 is more of a traffic management. So let's say you have your applications deployed in Azure, then how are you balancing the load? So we learn about load balancer in that. How do you manage your traffic worldwide? So we learn about traffic manager over here. Then there is one more additional topic known as application gateway. Like if you want to divert the traffic between one application to another application, path-based routing, we learn in application gateway. Module 7 is more of a Azure storage part, where we learn about what is Azure storage, what is blob storage, the securities to it, how to give permissions to your storage, how to then files and file shares, and how do you manage that. Okay, so Module 8 is more on a bigger topic, like in terms of an virtual machine. So what is virtual machines? How are we creating the virtual machines? How do you make your environment go high availability? What is virtual machine extensions? What is horizontal scaling? What is vertical scaling? Each and every in depth we'll be learning in our module 8 in our Azure virtual machine sections. Okay. Module 9 is more of a serverless computing. We can go with app service plans. So we will go with PaaS solution over here, that is platform as a service. So we'll be learning about Azure app service plans. We will learn about Azure. We will also study about Azure containers, where if you have a Docker image, how can you go ahead and deploy a Docker image in your in a Azure environment. Okay. Module 10 is more of a data protection, where we learn about backups. We learn about how do we take a backup, how do you configure a disaster recovery of your virtual machines. Okay, how do you take a storage backup, how do you take a backup of your disk of a VM, and out of that disk how do you create a new VM. We will learn all that. And module 11, it's in line with all the modules where we learn about monitoring part, like say Azure monitors are there, or log analytics are there, and Azure that's it. So each and every module, that was the module on everything. So each and every module has its own labs. Okay, we'll be doing, let's say in first sections, we'll start with the theory to understand the architecture. Once we understand the architecture, once we go through the theory part, then we'll go with the practical part. Okay. So they are, I mean, until here, what we were studying is your AZ-104. So I have added few more topics in our bonus lab. So that covers your AZ-303 as well. Okay. So fewer topics of AZ-303 will be covered as well. So let's say Active Directory migration. So we'll be migrating a users from an on-premise servers to an Azure AD. Okay, that will be covered as well. We'll be deploying web applications. So in a PaaS environment, that is your app service. So we will take a code from GitHub. We can take a code from, we can, how do you take a code from your GitHub to Azure app service, or how do you push your code from your local Visual Studios to app service? We'll be covering that as well. Okay, we'll be hosting a static website in Azure. So let's say you just have a static website, not a very dynamic website with databases and also. And how do you have a cheap deploy? I mean, in terms of cost deployment, which is very cheaper. How can you host that? We'll study that in our static website. Okay, then is the DNS website. I mean, if you have a custom domain, how do you deploy a custom domain in Azure? Okay, we will study that as well. Then SQL connectivity, we will be doing a deployment of a SQL server, but in a SQL server, when I say, it means in a PaaS environment. Okay, we have all seen the IaaS environment of SQL server, but we'll be studying about PaaS as a service of a SQL, and then we'll be deploying our app service in Azure. And how do you connect that database, PaaS database, to that application? We'll be looking into it. Again, in the disaster recovery, we will go in depth in the disaster recovery. We'll do a deployment of a disaster recovery and failover, and in case the disaster happens. And in the end, we will do a small migration topic where we will create a Hyper-V server, and how that Hyper-V server will be migrated to Azure environment. So Hyper will be like an on-premise server, and how that on-premise Hyper-V migration will be done, we'll be studying in our server migration topic. So again, AD migration. So we'll be having our own AD server, okay, and that all the users from that AD servers will be migrated to Azure. We'll be learning about these are some of the bigger topic or bigger lab, in the sense we'll connecting our network. So let's say that this is your network 1, VNet 1, and this is your VNet 2. How are you pairing your one VNet to another VNet? We'll be looking into it. Site to site connectivity is where we are connecting. This is our Azure environment. This is your on-premise environment. How do you make a connection between your Azure environment to on-premise environment? And then, as I told you, if you just want to make a connection between one laptop, or like say individual laptop, like you guys are working from home right now. So how do you connect your laptop to an on-premise to an Azure environment? We'll be looking into that as well. Okay. Last but not the least, Azure migration. So we'll be having a Hyper-V servers. We'll install a Windows on top of that Hyper-V, and we will migrate the server to Azure. Okay. So these are the some larger topic what we are covering, and I guess we don't need to go for the job market stuff. We all know how Azure is important to us. I open the floor for you guys. If you have any questions on the technical part, you can please unmute yourself and you let me know. or any slides you want me to explain it, I can show.
So the thing is, you are going to cover the from the basic scratch, right? How to create the VMs, like, okay, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Anyone has any other doubt?
No, sir.
Okay. Any doubt?
Nope.
No.
Okay, so if no doubts, I can wrap up this session.